I'm putting you on the spot. Go. Start it.
Hi, this is episode 3 of Rigor Mortis.
No. Wrong. Wrong.
This is episode 3 of Saeki House. The two movies we watched today are Today? We didn't watch these
last week.
We watched these last week. Mr. Vampire and Rigor Mortis, which we had said we would do in the last episode, Chorus.
We spoiled it. We're already fucking up. I can't believe we spoiled what this episode was going to be.
I can't believe we decided on the spot what we were going to watch and said it while recording.
Oh, God.
We're so unprofessional.
We are. Hey, Griffin, do you ever play like a really hard video game like Dark Souls and you have to take a really bad shit in the middle of it, but you don't get up and go because having to go to the bathroom so bad adds another layer of suspense to the video game you're playing?
That's never happened to me, not once.
I was doing that today.
What were you playing?
Ellen was making me play Fortnite and I really had to poo.
You spelled Fortnite wrong in the chat. And
Did I?
It triggered Alex.
I hate Fortnite.
Fortnite, the podcast.
Fortnite sucks.
Why the fuck did you make us go on a tangent about that?
I just figured it's a horror movie podcast, so we should scare away our listeners before it even starts.
Oh, God.
We gotta make it a little spooky.
We watched Mr. Vampire and Rigor Mortis. One is an action comedy with some horror elements, and the second one is a horror action film.
With 0 elements of comedy.
Yeah. Technically, spiritual successor.
Yeah, Rigor Mortis, damn it, start over. Mr. Vampire is a 1985 Hong Kong produced film.
You're gonna have to cut so much.
Directed by Ricky Lau. Haha.
Ricky Lau? That's just...
Yeah, that's the dude's name.
Huh.
Why, what did you think it was?
I didn't expect it to be Ricky.
I think a lot of actors and people working in the industry, especially around that time,
used an Americanized name.
Yeah, like I know some of the actors starring in Mr. Vampire. Also, there's like a Sonny in there, and I think there's another Ricky. I don't know. I guess that was just like a common thing back then. I don't know if it still is.
To be more marketable to like a Western audience.
You know, I don't know. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to bring up was I'm worried about sounding really uneducated about these two films because I don't know nearly as much about the Chinese film industry and the history of the country itself as I probably should. And it's just because I haven't gotten around to it, to like reading up on this stuff. But so if I say anything stupid or wrong, I'm not lying. I'm just misinformed.
Cool.
Just a disclaimer. I was worried because we were watching Mr. Vampire and there were things in it that like we couldn't figure out what year it took place in. And then reading up on it later, I figured it out. It's the days of the early republic, so it's like early 1900s.
Okay.
Like the 19-teens.
That makes sense, but at the same time, I don't see the point in
setting it that
far
back. I don't know. Just because it's fun. I don't know. It's just
they could have easily just set it even further back or made it modern.
It's probably it's modern enough to still be relatable, but also far back enough that a lot of elements of the movie still existed back then, like priests or priests with like very high status in the towns they lived in, things like that. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I'm talking on my ass right now. I'm not really sure.
Right. I mean, I have no idea. I haven't seen very many Chinese movies, period. Nor do I have a lot of exposure to Chinese culture.
Well, that's the other thing is I feel like I'm trying to keep track of how I describe this movie, and I'm trying to continuously refer to it as a Hong Kong film because films from the mainland, especially back then, were different. They had a different code of conduct that they had to work under. It's a completely different industry.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Hong Kong and Shanghai by themselves are completely different and function completely different.
Yeah.
Same with government, even to this day. So it makes sense
yeah, so
that in the
their film industry
industries
works differently. I guess there's content in it that they were allowed to put in there, and
versus the
things
remainder
like
of
that.
China.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like, Cantonese dialect versus Mandarin, I think, is another part.
Right, which we had to look that up to see which one was.
Which
the one
again is,
filmed
I
in.
think, is information I should have known, but I just didn't, because I'm misinformed, uninformed. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean both of us are.
But we're getting better. We're watching movies. We're learning.
This is like the first Chinese movie I've seen in probably years, Joe.
What was the last one you saw?
Rigor Mortis. Like 4 years ago.
Oh my god. Alright, well, well, now you've seen a new one.
Well, I watched some of Monkey King.
That counts.
Yeah, it does.
It's not good, but it counts. So how would you, I guess the plot of Mr. Vampire would be, well, like we said, it's a comedy with elements of horror and martial arts mixed in. It's a very amalgamated movie. It's about a priest in a village and his two bumbling idiot disciples who have to they have to remove a corpse that was improperly buried, and it gets turned into a vampire, and they have to stop it before it kills more people. than
Right,
it already
and
does in the
it
movie.
seems like everything is sort of just happenstance in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like it's there.
Uh huh.
Yeah, wasn't the original corpse was buried because of someone else?
I think
properly. That's never explained.
it was
or
about that,
explored.
like, he got like shafted in life, and then he died with anger, and so his last breath got stuck in his body, and then that's how he,
Except
that's
then,
how his corpse was able to stay alive.
But then the corpse was, well, the living man before he died
Yeah.
had stolen land from another man, or unfairly bought
Yeah,
land from someone else.
From a gypsy?
From a gypsy who,
Yeah.
when the man that bought the land died and was buried, the gypsy suggested ways to bury him incorrectly, which caused him to
which
be cursed.
Yeah, it didn't help
Yeah.
the corpse to not become a vampire.
But that is never shown and is explained within the first 10 minutes? 20 minutes?
And it's hard to kind of get from my copy of the film, because I own the copy of the film that I have is a Hong Kong copy. Like, it's from China, so I don't know how accurate the subtitles are. I'm sure you noticed that there were some typos.
There were typos.
and
It
stuff,
also
so-
moved far too fast occasionally.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, like, how accurate the English translations are, especially when it comes to the exposition. It might be just a little bit off or a little hard to interpret, but I mean, for the most part, it's like, no, I get what's going on in the movie.
I get what's going on,
Like,
but
but just the semantics of the jiangshi.
yeah,
is-
the background of the story is pretty much just told right at the start, and then things unfold without like really any connection from the characters, and then once it becomes involved with the characters, they're the ones that continuously fuck up and cause even more turmoil with the town, which is where most of the comedy comes through.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really funny.
This movie was hugely successful in pretty much all of Asia when it came out, and it sparked like an entire subgenre of comedy horror jiangshi films. Jiangshi being the Chinese equivalent of a vampire.
You almost said Japanese.
I did. Damn it, dude. Damn it.
But it's able to utilize the action and the comedy really well. Like a lot of really good physical humor, which you see Paul Blart in the States.
Well, I mean, that's the thing.
And that's the physical humor here.
It's like, it's so many things. It's a horror movie, it's a comedy, and it's a martial arts film all in one, but those elements aren't disconnected from each other. They all work in tandem with each other. Like, a majority of the comedy is slapstick, which comes from the martial arts fighting, and a lot of the martial arts fighting is contextualized around supernatural events. So everything is like, it doesn't feel like it's several genres as you're watching it. It feels like you're like, oh, this is what this movie is supposed to be.
Right.
Like, this is its own thing.
it was written to be that way.
Yeah. By like 5 writers. This movie had like 5 screenwriters.
That's surprising because it's cohesive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's written in a way that that everything was meant to be placed together rather than it's written to be a comedy and then the action scenes are set afterwards, which is usually the case in these types of movies. I can't really even say horror comedies are that much better about that.
You know, I usually don't like horror comedies.
There's a few.
There's several. The ones that I really like, but Mr. Vampire just works. It works really well. This movie, both times I've seen this movie, I was like actually like laughing at the screen. It
also really helps that the jiangshi by itself is pretty goofy.
Yeah. But it's also like an endearing monster too. A movie monster, because like
by the way it dresses.
No, just by the
because I think I like the way
well that like the makeup and the costume but like also its powers and the way it like acts and I don't know. There's a lot of like definite culture injected into this. Like it's very much a Chinese film. So so it's a really neat experience to see it as somebody who's not Chinese because I'm learning more about like older supernatural elements of Chinese folklore.
What, 30 years ago?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, but like the jiangshi has been around for forever.
Yeah, I remember in Life of a Teenage Robot.
Yeah, exactly.
Which came out after this. Two decades after.
But I mean, it's like, I also understand why this movie was a success abroad, because the comedy is like, it's not like hard to get. It's slapstick. It's just really genuinely that's good slapstick humor. So it's like you can watch this. You could be from another planet and never have heard of China in your life and watch this movie and still find it funny because the acting and the jokes are so physical. Right, and it's sort of like I have two animes that I really like. One of them is Setokai Yokumendono, something like that. I forget. But it's all told in jokes and like euphemisms that usually has to have notations to explain the joke, versus Nichijou, which is almost all done within the confines of the animation. Like it is all done within that. And you can relate far more and understand far more with Nichijou without knowing the language. I don't know much about Setai Yokumen. It doesn't matter. But like I've seen clips of it and it's kind of like haha, but I'm also sort of like what? Yeah, that's very much what it is. Yeah. But that's where like visual comedy is so much easier to understand through like language divides. Because it's just visuals. But visual comedy it's also really hard to do. Yeah, physical comedy is so hard to do because it's like you have to do it in a way that hasn't been done before, and you have to shoot it cleverly, and you have to block it cleverly, and you have to rehearse the shit out of it and like choreograph it, and like on a technical level, like on a planning level, Mr. Vampire is like there's some real talent behind the camera. The camera work is phenomenal. Going into the blocking really and the choreography of the martial arts alone, but then going into the humor, like it's so layered. It's funny and it's cool. It's both funny and cool. Not once did I think like a single like camera movement or a still frame was boring. Because it's all shot really well and moved. And they even do clever stuff like playing footage backwards and stuff to make an effect. But it's like it's quick lot enough. Of that. Yeah, well, like it's all quick enough that you register it as like that's what it's trying to do, and it works. They don't dwell on it, and it's not like poorly. Again, it's not poorly blocked or edited or anything, and it all flows really well. There's like a real rhythm to a lot of the action scenes that's really nice. I feel like we aren't going to be able to talk much about the story elements because it's so simple. Because it is, considering that it's a comedy action movie, that the story isn't what matters. It's more like the character dialogue and the physical comedy is what carries it. But I mean, there's elements of the story that I guess we could touch on like the fact that there's a whole ghost subplot in the movie that really has no end draw on the vampire,
which is
on the main jiangshi plot.
Funny because Rigor Mortis seems to have
Rigor Mortis works its ghosts into the plot, but Mr. Vampire just kind of throws a ghost in there to just create a more supernatural world.
Yeah, and then it's
more,
done.
Yeah,
it has no connection to the end of it.
And I mean, it does. The two plot lines do cross over and complicate things for the characters, but like I mean, if you really think about it, if the movie kind of would have ended exactly the same, if the ghost had
it would have ended exactly the same.
It's like if you took Indiana Jones out of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the movie would have ended exactly the same.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they would have all died. Mm-hmm. Spoiler.
If you haven't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, sorry. We were going to review that at a later episode.
We realized it wasn't Asian.
It took me so long to figure that out.
What?
I thought George Lucas was Chinese.
I mean, what else is there to say about... I feel like I want to say more about Mr. Vampire because I like it so much. I appreciate so many things about it.
Well, we can talk about the main characters. The two main characters, at least. And maybe even...
The priest and his disciples? I'd say there's 3.
We should also talk about the guy that shows up in Rigor. Just to...
Oh, Four Eyes?
Yeah, just to talk about it. So, I think the relationship between the 3 main characters, which is the priest and the 2 disciples, is shown fairly clearly within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're so well characterized.
Yeah, 2 of them are goofing off. One is a total dolt. The other one is a handsome prankster.
Yeah.
And then the priest, who is the serious
He's super
priest.
serious, but he's not exempt from the comedy either.
Right.
Like, he's
Absolutely.
not untouchable, which is a really nice element. But I just love the idea that there's not one but 2 bumbling disciples, and they're both idiots, but one is way more of an idiot than the other.
Right.
So they kind of have like a Dumb and Dumber like relationship there, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think it's done really well. One who gets into like a absolutely stupid predicament that by almost becoming a jiangshi, which turns out to be some of the best like physical comedy I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
because he keeps on fucking up.
And like the ghost aspect, there's weird, just odd complications to the main conflict that that really like drag the movie out in like a good way. Like they go to the market to buy sticky rice.
Oh my god, that
for the
so
ritual,
good.
but the mean guy running the market gives them 50% regular rice.
There's a confusion where the rice owner is saying that he won't notice, so we'll split the rice.
Yeah, because he doesn't know it's for essentially like a jiangshi exorcism.
Right, and you can only use sticky rice for some reason to use in jiangshi exorcisms. So he was gonna split the rice to cheapen the deal with white rice and sticky rice. But his idiot son ends up giving him 50 pounds of sticky rice and then 30 pounds of white rice because he's confused about the amount that his father told him. Which is just like a super simple and quick scene.
And you never see these characters before or since. They're only there to just complicate the main conflict, which is just hilarious to me.
And by result of that, the sticky rice almost kills the bumbling buffoon just because of someone wanting to cheapen the
swindle,
deal.
To swindle somebody else.
And he almost dies horribly because of it.
It's funny shit.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's really, and it's like it's not like a scene that's added into the movie where you're just kind of like, oh man, this is gonna make this longer for no reason. It's funny.
Right. It's not like the parents in Transformers.
No, it's
where
not.
They're there to be funny, but they're just annoying and pad the film.
I was actually just about to say.
Really?
I was,
okay.
Yeah. That is like that's like the go-to example of comedy that doesn't have any place
It's just there.
In their respective movies, yeah.
2 especially.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think everything's done really well in Mr. Vampire. I'm glad that I watched it. It didn't really add a whole lot to my reviewing of Rigor Mortis. It was just like a nice movie to watch.
I think having seen it now, I think adds a lot of context to what Rigor Mortis is trying to be that I think really improves the viewing experience of that.
I feel like if I had watched more Mr. Vampire movies and gotten to know these
for sure. Yeah.
More of these characters and to see who else was in Rigor Mortis.
Because Rigor Mortis isn't just a love letter to Mr. Vampire alone. It's sort of in reference to the entire subgenre of jiangshi movies that were really popular in the 80s. But the thing is that, like, I don't know, like, you could watch Rigor Mortis by itself, but after having seen any number of the Mr. Vampire films, I think I just have a better understanding of what Rigor Mortis is as, like, a vessel. Like I get it now.
I mean,
like, before it was a cool horror movie, but now it's like a really cool horror movie. Like, I really...
It was already a really cool horror movie.
Now it's even cooler now that I know what the joke is.
now that
now that I'm in on it.
Now you're like, oh, this is why he wanted to kill himself.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's it.
For Mr. Vampire?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mr. Vampire is a genuinely fun movie.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's a movie I could, like, watch with my parents, you know? Like, it's fun, it's accessible, like, it's not, like, horribly violent or anything like that. It's genuinely funny to literally everybody. I think you could show this movie to anybody, and they would go along with it.
I watched a lot of, like, Jackie Chan movies when I was younger with my dad.
Yeah, it's in
like
that,
of the equal standing.
Yeah, it's in that same vein of, like, just comedy that has genuine art put into it.
Yeah, like Around the World in 80 Days with Jackie Chan.
And Owen Wilson. Who else was in that? I'm thinking of Shanghai Noon.
What the fuck is Shanghai Noon?
That was the movie Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson starred in, where it was like a western, but it was like had martial arts in it. And they made a sequel called Shanghai Night. You never saw this?
No, was it good?
I saw Shanghai Nights. I remember that one was funny, but I was also like 10 when I saw it, so maybe they sucked. I don't know. I actually kind of want to watch those now.
Huh. Yeah, but I watched a lot of those. I watched Kung Pao, which is American.
Yeah.
But what's the other one?
Are you thinking of
the one that is
Kung Fu Hustle?
Kung Fu Hustle, which is a hilarious action comedy.
Yeah, all of his movies are fucking amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I grew up watching those, and it's those. Mr. Vampire is equally on par with.
Yeah, I think
with those.
If you like martial arts comedies, which is, you know, a really big genre on its own, I think Mr. Vampire is like the perfect Halloween movie because it has that added layer of horror to it. That's like it's not subtle. It's pretty thick.
Also cheese too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the horror is part of it. It's like again, it's so homogenous.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's good shit.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm. So then...
Let's talk about an even better movie.
Oh, fuck. Rigor Mortis is a 2013 film directed by Juno Mack and produced by Takashi Shimizu of the Ju-On franchise. You didn't?
No.
His name is all over the production of it.
Well, I didn't look at it.
I don't know how much of a hand he had in the creative bits of the film. I'd imagine not much.
It doesn't seem like it.
But... I mean, his name is all over it, so he did something.
Yeah, I saw it on the wall.
Yeah.
The fucking blood spatter.
But Rigor Mortis, how would you describe it? It's
an action horror movie that does action and horror correctly.
It's an action horror movie that does horror first and action second.
Which is how you do it.
Which is
you can't
it's pulls it off really fucking well.
You can't do it the other way around.
It's got exciting... Well, you can, but you're in for a schlockier time if you do.
Yeah.
Rigor Mortis, it has really cool action scenes in it, but it's also genuinely scary.
Mm-hmm. And
the action doesn't even happen until, like, the third act.
No, it has excellent pacing because it's able to to actually take the time
It
to establish
builds,
literally everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it sets it up too, right at the beginning.
Well, what it is it's like, I mean, again, just explaining to whoever's listening. I mean, it's how did I describe it months ago? I was like, Rigor Mortis is what Evil Dead 2013 is to the original Evil Dead. Like,
no camp.
Yeah, it's like the original. It's
serious.
Like Mr. Vampire with all of the camp taken out of it. In a way, it's a jiangshi movie that uses like a lot of the same elements and folklore and some of the same rules,
but taking all of the comedy out of it.
Yeah, but making like a completely serious movie out of it. But it's also it also does cool shit like returning actors from the Mr. Vampire series. Like the main actor, I think his name is Chin Soo-ho, plays himself in the film.
Right, and he's playing a deadbeat actor that is moving to a shitty apartment complex to kill himself.
I can't think of another movie that has an actor playing themselves that isn't like a comedy. Like already it's such a weird twist on what I already know about, prior films.
There's almost no reason for it to, other than the fact that it's more of a connection to Mr. Vampire.
I think it's just trying to, in a way, it's trying to like, it's sort of calling on the audience to forget what they know about Mr. Vampire, and it's telling you like, here's the actor that starred in those films that are just movies, and then it's like, this is real life where monsters exist and they're fucking horrible.
I'd say that except for the ending.
Well, we'll get there. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure
what you mean by that, but
I don't really want to.
What, get to the ending?
The weird second ending.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that.
I didn't think
whoever's listening to this should definitely watch the ending. But where were we? I don't know.
We were talking about how the main actor plays
Kim
herself.
Ji-woon?
No, completely different country.
Yeah, so he plays himself, which I think pretty much just establishes you caring for the character. And the background for like why he's in his particular situation, and also why he wants to do what he does right at the start. Being a deadbeat actor and moving to a shitty apartment complex, and
after your wife left you and took the kid,
took your son, and probably in the middle of fucking nowhere, that would make me want to hang myself in a spooky castle.
Absolutely. I love the setting in this movie. It essentially takes place in the same apartment complex from The Raid. It just like puts
in Dread.
Yeah, exactly, and it just puts ghosts and a fucking jiangshi in the middle of it,
right?
And it like completely flips it upside down, and it's really creepy. It's a neat setting, and they shoot it really well too.
Yeah, they shoot it really well.
A lot of the shots of like hallways and like corners outside of the building and stuff, and there's that reoccurring establishing shot looking up on the outside of the building that's like really creepy too.
It makes it feel like there's no end to the building itself.
Yeah, you never really get a sense of the layout. You just know it's just floors upon floors of just like mostly empty apartments.
Yeah, it really feels just like purgatory.
Yeah. And the people that do live there are really well characterized and quirky characters.
Yeah, it's probably the type of people that would shit. Why did I say shit?
I don't know. What were you trying to say?
Live in some.
Well, you got a shit to live.
Yeah. Some weird apartment in the middle of nowhere, some low-income housing. You get a lot of strange characters in those types of areas, and they're all characterized in the way that they're believable.
And like, not only are all these characters like definitely like their own people, like they have like real personality traits and quirks about them, but they also have a very every single one has a very tangible effect on the plot. They're all used pretty well. Like, regardless of how much screen time they have.
The restaurant owners aren't.
Well, I mean, yeah, but those are like background.
Oh, you're just specifically talking about main characters.
The main cast, which is like it's like a good like
it's like
six or seven people. Yeah.
Yeah. Not if you count the twins. I think.
Well, they're a different element, but the plot. Did we really describe the plot?
No, I don't think so. I think we just talked about the baseline story of the main character right at the start.
Well, I mean, yeah, the conflict is similar to Mr. Vampire. It's like the accidental transformation of a corpse into a jiangshi.
And then the main character accidentally getting involved with a ghost.
Yeah, with the involvement of twin ghosts.
Twin ghosts this time.
Raising the stakes.
Raising the fucking bar.
And there's a whole thing with like a Four Eyes, the jiangshi leading priest from Mr. Vampire.
A very minor character in Mr. Vampire.
Is now a retired vampire hunter who uses all of his leftover sticky rice abilities to cook now.
Right.
Is his thing.
Because that's what happened to vampire hunters.
And then you have an old priest who is more of a sorcerer in this film who's dying. And now he's seeking out these supernatural creatures to extend his own life.
Right.
Things like that.
He's basically the antagonist. He sets up.
No, he does.
Everything.
Yeah, he definitely does. But
he's not the main force.
Well, he didn't intend for it to go the way that it did.
Yeah, but he's doing shady shit.
He is. He's doing shady shit
like
for his own benefit,
shit.
But he never intended for anybody to die. He only took what came to him and ran with it.
Yeah, he was taking people that had already died and tried to extend his own life.
Mm-hmm. And so he's sort of like a secondary antagonist, but he was. But like
he's really well characterized.
Yeah,
in
I
a
don't.
Way that you don't hate him.
Yeah, that was just what I was about to say. I don't hate the guy. It's just it's hard to like. I don't know. It's really hard to pinpoint how I feel about him because like part of me feels kind of bad because he's dying, but then the other part of me.
He's a prick.
Yeah, he's kind of shafting everybody else, and like again, like not all the way intentionally, but yeah.
I mean,
yeah, okay, yeah.
The wife.
He did lie to what's her name, but and he did want to smoke some ghost, but you know,
some ghost train hay.
That makes no sense if you haven't seen the
I don't
movie.
know.
The phrase "smoke some ghost," but like that's not figurative. That's pretty literal in the context of the film.
Yeah, pretty much. He just wants to smoke corpses to extend his life, which I don't know is a black magic thing.
It definitely sounds like it. If it's not, I totally believe it.
In like China.
Yeah, maybe. Well, he was smoking the ashes of unborn children,
which
to
don't have
extend
enough
his life. Yeah, but they
spiritual
don't have enough
power.
spiritual energy to keep his life going. So he needed the twins haunting our protagonist's apartment,
right,
to get them into a body that he could then burn and then consume.
Which, in this sense, is the jiangshi, which is a soulless body.
Yeah, which is a really. I mean, it's a little vague, the semantics of it, but it's when you finally get it, it's a really clever plan. Like that's a there's a lot of things that you kind of have to like. I feel like they leave a lot of it up to interpretation, like how it would go about if it were successful. But I feel like it's a pretty clever plot.
Right.
Really cool special effects. They're a little touchy. In places, but for the most part, like the art direction and the production design is so unique and good, and the creatures just look really great set against the setting of the rundown apartment complex. And again, a lot of it is genuinely creepy. Mm-hmm. Like those shots of a tongue after he's been turned into a jiangshi, like just sort of standing at the ends of hallways with his like side of his face torn open, are really disturbing.
Right. It's able to really accentuate the graphic nature of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, the violence isn't funny.
No,
like it was in Mr.
not.
Vampire. In Rigor Mortis, it's sad and it's horrific, and people get like really badly hurt in this movie, and it's like it's rough.
Yeah, and there's a fair amount of blood, and even more like.
There's a rape in this that you see like twice.
Yeah.
it's not a funny movie.
No, it's not. Thank God it doesn't try to play off a rape as a comedy.
No. I don't think you could.
I mean, some of those Bollywood movies play on for like 4 hours and 6 hours. And
I've never seen a Bollywood film.
There's the Terminator one where it goes from being a comedy to action. There's an attempted rape scene in it.
Oh my god,
yes,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, and then it goes back to comedy in the next scene.
Oh no.
So like that happens, but
Rigor Mortis doesn't play that way.
No, it doesn't. It takes everything seriously.
Yeah.
There isn't an ounce of like... I don't think I laughed once.
It's an action horror film that wants to scare you. If I laughed, it was nervously. Because somebody got really badly hurt. or something like that.
There's one scene in particular that I can remember laughing at how, like, this is horrible.
Was it the...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one scene that I laughed at, and I was like, this is terrible.
There's some really good gore effects, too.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. The one, like, special effects that bothered me was a gore effect with, like, shoulder bone coming out.
There's I think the one...
There's probably like a few.
The effects that bother me in Rigor Mortis, but not enough for me to bag on the movie, are like the blood squibs that are digitally added into the film that kind of... sometimes blood gets on the camera, and it's a little like... It comes out of like the corner of the screen and lands on the camera, and you're like, how did that happen? And it's a little awkward, but... And then a lot of like the weird squiggly things surrounding the twin ghosts, I think sometimes look a little bit pasted on.
Yeah.
But those are such minor things, and then the movie around it looks so good that it's like, I don't...
Well, it's color corrected in a way where like special effects can actually meld well to it.
Yeah, and I think it's weird because I feel like a horror movie should have a lot more contrast. And like Rigor Mortis has a lot of dark, like literally dark images in it, but there's some shots in this movie that are really like neutrally gray, and I feel like that shouldn't work, but they do, and I don't know why.
Probably just tonally and
I guess it's such like it's so unique looking.
Yeah.
Like again, I just feel like there should, like, a lot of the times, like, it's easier to pull off more of a contrast between light and shadow, but there's some of the
dark and dark.
Yeah, some of the color correction in this is just like dark on dark. Yeah, and it's just bleh looking, and you're like, oh man.
Some of the final scenes are very close to just being black and white.
Yeah.
Except for
the final scene takes place
tones.
in like a black void.
Yeah, exactly. But there's still some skin tone in it, and that's the only remnants of like some color that you can see. But I think it works like amazingly well with the coloring and just how it's shot, period.
Yeah. And like a lot of the practical gore effects are really cool. Like the arm snapping into looks really great.
Arm twisting in half.
And the bathroom covered in the remains of the one character but it doesn't linger on any of this.
No.
It's like you get it immediately, and then it like moves on, so it leaves like it's got a lot of like high impact to it, but it's not super long lasting, which is really tasteful.
Well, it's how a horror movie should be done.
Yeah.
Unless it's torture porn.
Yeah, exactly. It's not fun gore.
No.
It's sad gore.
Yeah, which is meant to not be lingered on.
Yeah.
It's meant to have its highest impact and then move on to the next depressing scene.
Yeah.
Which it does. Constantly.
And like, I don't want to make this movie sound like a bummer, because at its core, it's like one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. It's so fucking cool.
It's really cool, and the fight scenes themselves are fun.
Yeah,
but they actually have like weight to them.
There's like real tension to this, and it's like, again, it's so fucking cool.
Yeah,
I love all of the elements like in this movie that all work together, and there's even like there's things about it that they sort of like, there's further supernatural elements that they imply in this that they don't really explain, like the death monks walking down the hallway, and then there's like the implied like third ghost in the building that never really comes into play at all. It's the little boy that Tongue sees at the bottom of the stairs.
That's also in the
you see him like
sorcerer's room.
you see him like twice in the movie, like this brief close up of his face, but he's just part of the building.
Yeah, it's just he's connected to the sorcerer.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh.
He tried to hold on to the sorcerer when he was going up the stairs.
Oh shit, you're right.
I
don't know who he is, or
maybe he is
this cancer ghost.
Maybe it could be all the evil that's following him. It could be all of the stillborn fetuses that he smoked grown up into like this amalgamation of all these spirits.
I don't know,
because he's horrifically deformed.
Yeah, he's got like this really weird like inhuman face.
Yeah. And
so it's like I don't know if it's something I'm supposed to infer what it is, and I just don't know. I just don't have that knowledge, or if it's just like something made up for the film.
Right.
That I'm just supposed to find creepy, which I do.
Yeah, he's creepy. Very creepy.
It's really weird looking.
Almost looks like the rake.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. There's, and then there's little things like references to dead apartment tenants that you never got to meet that are still around.
Mm-hmm. For a short period of time, like showing that there are still spirits.
Yeah, the vampire hunter lives in an apartment with a bunch of other spirits, but he's learned to coexist with them, and occasionally they do shit like move his razor around, but he just has to let it slide, and that's a really fun idea. I like that there's more to any space than meets the eye. Right,
and it's one of the few movies that show completely harmless ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all ghosts are fucking awful.
Yeah, and they're not all gonna hurt you and attempt to take your body.
Which is usually how it is in, like, all cultures.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's never really shown in, like, pop culture.
Yeah, you never get to see it in film.
Yeah.
They
aren't benevolent either. They're just there. They're just ghosts.
They just live there, and you have to share a space with them.
Right.
And they even, like, kind of tell you that, like, in the movie. Like, there's characters that talk about how, like, ghosts need to eat, too. Like, we share this plane with them. They're not gone.
Right.
And so, like, and you hear a lot of that early on in the movie. So, like, with going into the rest of it with that knowledge, you're just sort of expecting just, like, literally anything to happen. Because, because the movie establishes that we share an existence with supernatural entities.
Yeah.
Which is cool. There's a nice world built into this.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you never really go outside of the apartment complex.
Right. And it shows, like, almost like Cars in the sense that there's a balance between humanity and this supernatural world that humanity can't see.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
It's creepy. It's really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is, like, the coolest movie ever.
Yeah,
it's my favorite movie while I'm watching it.
While you watch it?
While I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is the best. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it only has a 53 on Metacritic.
Okay, yeah, I am confused by the scores for this film. Across the board, all seem to say that it's okay. But I think it's genuinely like I hate to say this, but it's like a real hidden gem.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm waiting for like a cult to start following this film, because I love everything about it.
I seriously don't see a fault in it other than some spotty special effects, which are to no fault of anyone.
No. Yeah, that's just like, I get that. That's not like a creative choice.
No, it's absolutely not.
It's just
like limitation of technology at the time and also
budget,
in the country.
Budget and industry,
but nowhere near enough to bring it down.
No.
And then the writing is really fucking good. The action's great.
Yeah.
It's shot amazingly well.
The characters are like, they're not all likable, but they're all fleshed out.
Right.
And it's like, I don't get it. And I hate to sound like a douche, but like all the negative reviews that I read for this movie, which I did go back a couple days ago and read some.
Yeah, I did.
They all just kind of sounded like they didn't get it. Like, I hate to sound like that guy, but it just
know what's not to get.
I don't know, just like, again, like the context of it, like what it's trying to be. I guess I Like, I don't know. Like, again, like, the first time I saw it, I didn't have that context, but I still thought it was cool. So, like, I don't know. I guess it's just harder to please your audience when you're meshing genres together seriously and taking it seriously.
Yeah, I think a lot of lemmings just see comedy and laugh at it.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, yeah, that's the thing. You can mesh your genres, and if you make it funny, nobody has a problem.
Right.
But if you mesh genres and you take it seriously, people are gonna...
They're gonna nitpick it.
Yeah. They're gonna pull it apart.
Which also, I mean, there's a weird divide with a lot of people where they just... If it's serious, they'll break it down piece by piece, but if it's a comedy...
They're more forgiving.
Like, turn your brain off.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if it's just a fun movie, turn your brain off. It's a Marvel movie, turn your brain off.
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, turn your brain off. It's fun. So, I guess when it's played so seriously in two separate genres that, people are gonna rip it to shreds.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say
rip it to shreds.
Yeah, because
but
people like it. It seems they just don't love it, and that makes me angry because I love it.
Angry.
This movie is my boy, and I must protect him. I love him.
Have a boy.
Also, I can't believe this is I didn't realize this until like literally just now, but both Mr. Vampire and Rigor Mortis are the directorial debuts of their respective.
Was Mr. Vampire?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Ricky Lau had worked as an assistant director for the producer Sammo Hung. Okay. But I mean, so he knew film sets, and so did Juno Mack. But like, these are their first like feature length directorial positions, and both movies fucking excel at being movies. They're both really good, and I think that's really impressive and worth noting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy both of these movies, and the subtle and somewhat not so subtle connections between the two really do. I don't think you don't have to watch both movies to enjoy either one.
No, but I think you benefit from having seen both.
Right.
So, for sure. Mr. Vampire, you can watch with your mom. Rigor Mortis, I wouldn't watch with your mom.
Unless she likes horror.
And rape.
And that one rape.
And child murder.
Yeah. It's one of the few movies that goes there. It's happening more often lately.
Rigor Mortis
they just kill
Rigor
kids.
Mortis goes to some dark corners. It's got your assault. It's got your child death. It's got your suicide.
It's got multiple.
It's got several suicides. It goes to the darkest corners of the human psyche are all in there. Mm-hmm. They're all in there.
It's pretty cool.
It's a pretty cool movie.
It's a pretty goofy movie.
It's a pretty extremely goofy movie.
Yeah, Rigor Mortis World in Kingdom Hearts 3 is gonna be really fucking cool.
Oh my god. Kingdom Mortis.
Kingdom Mortis. Kingdom Dead.
So we're clocking into 50 minutes here. Just about.
Didn't really feel like it.
No, these never do feel that long until I look at the timer, but...
Yeah, Cars felt short.
Cars was about 43 minutes?
Yeah, which still feels...
Yeah, I listened to it again yesterday, and it went by pretty quick, but
it does.
I don't love the sound of my own voice or anything. I just...
Every time I listen to one of these over again, just to be like, is this
just to make sure I
not?
Don't sound like a dumbass.
I'm always surprised that wow, I don't sound like the way I sound.
I'm always like, ooh,
I don't hate that.
Yeah, wow, I thought about this.
Yeah.
Before it came out of my fucking mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was episode 3.
I was about to say that. Well, that was episode 3.
There you
of Saeki House.
Come back in 2 weeks, hopefully.
I don't know what we're gonna watch.
I don't either. It's gonna be a surprise. We're gonna try and keep it a surprise. I like it more when I'm not expecting what the next episode is gonna be of any given podcast.
Well, we already had an idea for this episode.
We did. We spoiled it in the last episode, and I regret it because I think following a podcast and not knowing what the next episode is gonna be about is kind of fun. It's like I want to retain that.
Okay. I could give two shits.
Oh, also the tag-along 1 and 2 are being released over here finally.
Tag-along?
The tag-along, you remember that? What? That was a Chinese film that we watched, wasn't it? It's Chinese, isn't it?
I didn't watch.
Or Taiwan? Yeah, we did. We watched it with Matthew. With the little CG ghost girl.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's being released here on a double feature.
The
Thai,
movie.
yeah. They were. I barely watched it, but they're being released here.
That's why I didn't remember it.
Yeah, well, it's coming out over here under the title The Haunted.
Well, that's... Wait.
Double feature, 1 and 2.
It's being localized under the title The
Yes.
Haunted? Okay.
So,
Not remade.
So if I pick that up, we can do an episode on that in the future.
Hopefully the second one's worse than the first one.
I think it is. I think I looked this up. I
don't have a lot to talk about.
I don't know. The first one was not... Oh, there's something to talk about.
I can talk about the first, 20 minutes.
I can talk about where it fails. Where it falls short and where
You mean after the first 20 minutes?
Oh, man. Okay, this might be a future episode.
It will be later, though.
Later, not the next one.
No,
don't expect it.
The next
Don't
one.
expect anything. Ooh, spooky.
Shut up.
Ooh.